Long before the first pale rays of the sun managed to pierce the dense canopy of the Amazon basin, the Solimões River is already awake. This is the Várzea, a magical world where the mighty river has overflowed its banks, drowning the ancient jungle beneath billions of gallons of sediment-rich whitewater, transforming the landscape into a vast whitewater-flooded forest. It is a breathtaking aquatic labyrinth where boundaries between earth and water are completely erased. At 5 o'clock in the morning, a dense blue mist clings stubbornly to the muddy currents. Governed by an ancient circadian rhythm, the night shift concludes its work. The greater fishing bat sweeps low over the churning river one final time before retreating to the high canopy roosts. As the bats vanish, the true masters of this underwater universe stir. Rising gracefully from the opaque depths is the iconic Amazon river dolphin, the magnificent pink boto, scientifically known as Inia jaffrensis. These highly intelligent mammals navigate the tangle of submerged tree roots with unparalleled elegance, their pink skin creating a striking contrast against the dark waters. They are not alone in the misty dawn. Along the decaying mudbanks, capybaras wade cautiously into the shallows to forage, their movements watched by the unblinking, prehistoric eyes of a spectacled caiman resting silently in the floating debris. The morning air is pierced by the sharp calls of the delicate wattled jacana, a bird perfectly adapted to stride across the broad lily pads. Higher up on the treacherous, root-choked banks, an apex predator materializes. A massive jaguar meticulously patrols the water's edge. It scans the churning white water below, perfectly adapted to hunt in this dynamic edge between the terrestrial and the aquatic. Nearby, the smaller, agile Tucuxi dolphins join their larger cousins in the flooded channels, gracefully leaping in low arcs. In the shallower pools, fiercely territorial giant river otters begin their day with an energetic hunt, their powerful jaws crunching on freshly caught silverfish as the morning chorus of the Amazon truly begins to swell. By late morning, the overcast sky brightens, casting a diffused daylight over the endless expanse of the Várzea. The flooded forest is now a theater of relentless vitality. The suspended sediment limits visibility to mere inches, forcing the inhabitants to rely on highly specialized adaptations to survive. For the pink botos, this murky world presents no obstacle. Lacking the need for sharp vision, these remarkable cetaceans utilize highly sophisticated biological sonar, emitting a rapid-fire sequence of high-frequency clicks from their bulbous foreheads to perfectly map the three-dimensional architecture of the submerged roots. They weave through thorny thickets, their unfused neck vertebrae allowing them to twist as they flush out hidden prey. In the deeper, shaded alcoves of the flooded forest floor, danger lurks in absolute stillness. A bizarre mata-mata turtle, its ridged shell perfectly mimicking decaying deadwood, waits in the leaf litter. It is an ambush predator of the highest order, waiting for a careless fish to drift just an inch too close. Above them, navigating the decaying wooden structures, formidable schools of red-bellied piranhas patrol the shadows. Yet, in this complex ecosystem, life continuously falls from the sky. High in the emerald canopy above, a chattering troop of common squirrel monkeys leaps frantically from branch to branch. Unwittingly, their erratic foraging dislodges hard green jungle fruits, sending them plummeting into the muddy river below. This constant rain of nutrients is eagerly awaited by the tambaqui,
a massive fish equipped with powerful jaws capable of crushing solid wood. As the tambaki gather to feast, they inevitably attract the attention of the otters, creating a cascading chain of survival. Meanwhile, draped over a thick branch just inches above the lapping water, the green anaconda rests in absolute silence. The undisputed heavyweight of Amazonian serpents remains perfectly motionless, completely ignoring the massive black caiman that silently slides off a nearby mudbank into the surging currents. The morning is a symphony of calculated movement, a delicate balance of predator and prey.
As the invisible sun reaches its zenith behind the thick, overcast sky, the atmosphere of the Amazon basin transforms entirely. The morning vitality is steadily crushed beneath the oppressive, suffocating weight of the midday heat. A thick, visible heat haze begins to shimmer over the slow-moving, muddy whitewater. The humid air becomes stagnant and completely windless. In response to this brutal temperature, the vibrant, chaotic ecosystem of the flooded forest simply grinds to a halt. A profound silence settles over the Varza, broken only by the deafening, hypnotic, and relentless drone of millions of Amazonian cicadas. Energy conservation becomes the ultimate law of survival. The colossal Amazonian manatee, a gentle aquatic herbivore that plays a critical role in the region's nutrient cycle by consuming up to 1/10 of its body weight daily, sinks to the shallow mudbanks. It becomes completely motionless, resting like a giant, sunken gray boulder beneath the surface, its heart rate slowing dramatically. Even the tireless pink botos must surrender to the lethargy of the afternoon. Some enter a state known as logging, floating perfectly horizontally at the very top of the water, rising and falling only with the rhythm of the gentle current. Others seek refuge in the deepest shadows cast by the submerged kapok trees, hooking their long rostrums over underwater branches to anchor themselves against the current while they sleep. Along the muddy banks, a neotropical otter drapes its exhausted body completely limp over an exposed root, panting softly, while cold-blooded reptiles like the spectacled caiman gape their jaws wide open in a desperate bid to release accumulated thermal heat. But it is in the deepest, entirely oxygen-depleted trenches of the flooded forest that the true ancient wonders hide. Hovering motionless in the pitch-black water column is the mighty Arapaima, specifically Arapaima gigas, a prehistoric, heavily armored leviathan and one of the largest freshwater fish on Earth. Suspended in the sediment-rich dark, it waits out the brutal daylight. The midday stillness is a masterclass in endurance, a testament to the remarkable adaptations required to survive the uncompromising extremes of the tropical rainforest. Eventually, the intense, stifling heat begins to break. As the afternoon progresses, the diffused daylight softens, painting the sprawling Varzea in warm, muted tones of gold and dusty orange. The slight cooling of the humid air acts as an invisible signal, awakening the giants from their deep, suspended slumber. The flooded forest experiences a breathtaking resurgence of energy. A massive pink boto, deeply rested, explodes from the heavy white water, entirely breaching the surface in a spectacular display of raw aquatic power. The thunderous splash echoes across the wide river channels, signaling the commencement of the late afternoon hunt. The botos employ highly coordinated tactics, using their powerful tails to thrash the water violently, corralling panicked silverfish against the root-tangled mudbanks. Opportunistic spectacled caimans slide stealthily into the shallows, waiting patiently to snatch any injured prey that escapes the dolphin's jaws. The giant river otters resume their high-speed acrobatics, rolling and splashing playfully in the churning currents, their social bonds reinforced through endless interaction. Along the muddy, grassy edges of the encroaching jungle, families of capybaras huddle closely together, chewing thick green reeds rapidly as they keep a watchful eye on the dark tree lines. Delicate horned screamers and spindly-legged wattled jacanas step carefully across the expansive mats of Victoria amazonica, picking off the sudden emergence of late afternoon insects. As the sun dips lower, the immense Amazonian manatees finally rise from the riverbed, pushing their large snouts out of the muddy water to rip massive mouthfuls of macrophytes and floating vegetation. The river is alive once more, a chaotic, beautiful struggle for sustenance before the encroaching darkness reclaims the basin. The water's surface reflects the breathtaking, darkening sky, broken only by the continuous exhalations of aquatic mammals. The pink botos cruise the perimeters, their long beaks sweeping the decaying leaves, sensing the electrical impulses of hidden prey. It is the golden shift, a fleeting window of frantic feeding where the diurnal inhabitants make their final preparations for the terrifying uncertainties of the approaching night. As the day finally surrenders, the sky over the immense Solimões River transitions into a canvas of bruised violet and deep, dusty purple hues. The shadows of the ancient kapok trees stretch infinitely across the mirror-like surface of the muddy water, plunging the Várzea into total, impenetrable darkness. This is the nocturnal shift, where the rules of the flooded forest are completely rewritten. Diurnal creatures, like the beautiful sunbittern, fold their intricately patterned wings and seek safe roosts high above the reach of aquatic predators. In their place, the night hunters emerge. High in the black canopy, the greater fishing bat drops from its branch, spreading its massive wings to glide inches above the violet water, using incredibly sophisticated sonar to drag its razor-sharp claws through the surface tension, snatching fish from the dark. On the muddy banks, a massive green anaconda pours its incredibly heavy coils smoothly into the black water, vanishing completely without a single ripple or sound. In the absolute dark of the underwater maze, the pink botos group together. Their world is now painted entirely by sound. A complex symphony of high-pitched clicks and whistles dominates the aquatic landscape as they hunt with terrifying speed and precision, completely blind but perfectly aware. Yet, the true climax of the Várzea night belongs to an ancient necessity. Deep within the oxygen-starved waters, the massive, heavily armored Arapaima begins its ascent. An obligate air breather, this colossal fish cannot rely on gills alone in the stagnant, rotting sediment. The perfectly flat, violet-reflecting surface of the water suddenly bulges upward into a massive, terrifying dome. With a completely deafening, shockingly loud, hollow gasp that echoes for miles through the pitch-black jungle, the giant violently breaches the surface. It gulps the humid twilight air, its red-edged scales flashing briefly in the fading light before crashing back down with a booming force. The monumental ripples distort the perfect purple mirror of the sky, spreading infinitely across the flooded plain. It is a profound, awe-inspiring testament to the resilience, the scale, and the raw majesty of the Amazon basin. A world where life does not merely survive the flood, but is magnificently, entirely defined by